Growing up, I have always been a fan of Spider-Man. He's always been my favourite superhero for a number of reasons, partly because he was the first one I ever knew about, but also because during this video duology, I will be ranking all the Spider-Man films, from the Sam Raimi trilogy through to the Mark Webb duology and all the way to the MCU trilogy. Note, I will also be including the Sonyverse films, such as Venom and Morbius and all that jazz, and I will of course also be doing the Spider-Verse films as well, which I'm sure will get finished one day. At the top of this tier list we have GOAT, down to fantastic, then great, good, okay, bad, and finally terrible. You probably think you already know where everything in this list is going, just judging by popular opinion, but I should warn you that my opinions differ very largely to that of most people. Trust me, I guarantee some of you are going to be very surprised by this. I have some extremely hot takes, okay? I was planning on doing this all in one video, but I guess plans change, don't they? I mean, let's be real here. This is 16 films we've got to get through, and I have a lot to say about these franchises. So for the first video, we're going to be doing Spider-Man from 2002 all the way to Into the Spider-Verse of 2018. Then in the second episode, we'll be beginning with Far From Home of 2019 and going all the way to Kraven the Hunter from 2024. But enough chitter chatter, let's get this show on the road. We start off this list of Spider-Man films with Spider-Man. I love it. Short and simple. Do, 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 do. Oh, the hours I spent listening to this theme as a child. I love this music. Danny Elfman, man. King. We get introduced to Peter, played by Tobey Maguire. I'm gonna say this now, get it out of the way. Tobey Maguire, best Spider-Man actor out of all the live action, voice acting, video games, whatever. Tobey Maguire is the GOAT. And if you disagree, then
just keep your mouth shut about stuff you don't understand.
To be honest, this is something I could say about the cast as a whole, really. Everyone just seems made for these roles. Main standouts to me are Tobey and Willem as Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. I feel like these are the two best performances of the film. Their dynamic in general is just so well realised, and yeah, I can't get enough of it. Speaking of casting, I can't help but feel like the casting directors took some inspiration from Grease. Like, the main leads are all fine, but come on. You're telling me this guy is still in high school? Really? Okay.
Wait. Thanks.
Peter? I would probably tell someone about this. I'm just saying, guys. If I was in a room that had genetically advanced spiders in it and I got bitten by one of them, my first instinct would be to tell someone about it. Okay? It's a genetically advanced spider here. My life could be on the line. I would not just stand there and not tell anyone. Peter, I thought you were meant to be intelligent. Further proof that Tobey Maguire is the GOAT arises when he didn't want to do this scene with special effects, and he did this scene himself, no strings attached, and did 156 takes to get it done for real.
Oh, this was very cool too.
Yeah, I love this stuff. It's fun.
I heard that took you like 3 takes to get all those things just right.
You know what? They were gonna do that digitally, and what happened is someone came up with the idea of just standing above the camera and dropping all that stuff and hoping it landed right. And I think we saved them a bunch of money.
No, are you kidding me?
I swear to
God.
God.
I had no idea.
Oh, we gave it a shot, you know.
Go Webb! Fly!
The comedy in this film has aged like fine wine. This scene is still funny to this day. I love this montage as he tries coming up with different designs and experiments. It's an excellent scene. And we get some more brilliant comedy before Uncle Ben says this.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
This has impact partly because of the context and delivery, and also partly because he, actually said what he was trying to say instead of just beating about the bush.
You could have taken that guy apart. Now he's going to get away with my money.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
The scene where Peter rushes to hunt down his uncle's killer is very intense. I like it, and the realisation on his face when he sees who the murderer is, what an incredible scene. I really hope nothing happens in a future film that renders this moment completely meaningless, as Peter ends up not being responsible at all, by extension making his entire motivation to become Spider-Man completely devoid of any logic or depth whatsoever. Nah, that won't happen, will it? One of my favourite scenes in this film is the moment he looks at the drawing he did of the suit and chooses to become Spider-Man for the very first time. Very powerful. I also want to talk quickly about this scene where Peter chats to MJ for a bit, as it has one of the most hilarious continuity errors I think I've ever seen in any film. Now, it's not immediately obvious, but once you notice it, it's so hard to not notice. Basically, the entire time that they're talking, this same guy walks around the building like half a dozen times and just keeps circling this one block for no reason. Oh yeah, Harry and MJ are dating, by the way. Sorry, forgot to pay attention to the story there for a second. Our first fight scene between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin is very exciting. It's creative and it's awesome. Really goes for all the action in this film, to be honest. Sam Raimi just knows how to direct a great fight scene. I think my favourite one, and probably my favourite scene in the whole film, is the bit at the bridge. From the moment Spider-Man catapults himself over to the bridge, which is a moment that always gave me goosebumps as a child, to the moment he gets dragged off. It's a perfect fight scene as far as I'm concerned. It's intense, it's dramatic, brilliantly scored, and of course, excellently performed. I think it's in scenes like this where the chemistry between Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe really dawns on you, and you see how lucky we were that these two were in the right place at the right time for this film. What I like is that earlier on Green Goblin has an element of respect for Spider-Man because of his potential and how powerful he is, which he almost admires, which is just a fascinating concept to explore. But alas, Green Goblin dies in one of the funniest death scenes I've ever seen.
Oh.
It's strange because if the MCU did this nowadays, I don't think I would laugh, just because of how often they've done this sort of thing. I also appreciate how this film leaves enough open for a sequel, but if it was a standalone film, no one would really question it because it reaches the perfect middle line, which isn't something we really see anymore. It ends on an absolutely beautiful note of him having to turn down MJ, walking away with a definitive, completed character arc, completely unrecognisable from the very different Peter Parker we saw at the beginning of the film, as it comes to a dramatic end with a final swing. So I think at this point it's very clear what I think of this film, and I'll tell you, growing up for the longest time, this was my favourite Spider-Man film, and even though there is one Spider-Man film that I do think is better, this one is still an absolutely incredible film. There's so much clever metaphorical storytelling, like the Thanksgiving scene with the outfits of Peter, Norman and Harry being colour coordinated. It's small touches like this that elevate Sam Raimi above Mark Webb and John Watts. Honestly, you guys, I do not have a bad word to say about this film. The CGI in this one shot that lasts for 3 seconds doesn't look good anymore because it's from 2002. As if there were any questions as to where this masterpiece of a film is going, it's going straight in GOAT. Spider-Man 2 time, let's go. Until 2018, this was the most popular Spider-Man film of all time. When it came to making the sequel to Spider-Man, Sam Raimi came up with the ever-original title, Spider-Man 2. I wonder how long it took them to come up with that one. We get introduced to Mr. Aziz, who despite only having like 5 minutes of screen time, has become quite the meme, which is good because he is goated.
Pizza time.
You know what, folks, I think it's a bit of a toss-up between which film is the bigger meme out of this one and Spider-Man 3. At the minute, gonna say this one. I find the dynamic between Peter and Harry very interesting in this film. The way Harry is angry with Peter for not giving him what he wants, and the difficulty of the situation Peter is in. The character work overall is just very fascinating to watch unfold. This film really pushes the limits and boundaries of Peter and Harry's friendship and explores it in extreme detail. So far this film is great. They're definitely not going to ruin it, right? Oh fuck, here we go. This character is the only bad thing about this film, alright? She is just the worst. She manipulates Peter in pretty much every single way you could possibly think of. Gee, and I'm supposed to buy that she loves this man? And then, when he does actually offer to spend time with her, she refuses and acts like he's being completely unreasonable for it.
You want to get some chow mein?
Peter, I'm getting married. Do you love me or not?
And that's just the way she is with Peter. I haven't even talked about John yet, who, by the way, she leaves on their wedding day in front of everyone, all alone, with a fucking note. This character is such a bitch. Is she this bad in the comics? Seriously, the amount of emotional stress that she willingly and knowingly causes Peter and John is on a whole nother level. Peter, why do you want to marry this girl anyway? I wouldn't trust her to not cheat on you, to be honest. You do know that in the first film she zigzagged hardcore from Flash to Harry to you to also you. Okay, I mean, that sounds slightly less egregious when you say it like that, but you know what I mean. Okay, so moving on to characters that we actually do give a shit about, we've got the main villain of the film, Dr. Octopus. Octavius is probably the most complex villain of the Raimiverse, essentially becoming a villain by wanting to help the world, a project that he became so obsessed with and set on that he eventually lost sight of the reason he was doing it, and just ended up causing more damage than anything else. This is an incredible journey for this villain to go on. The brilliant character drama doesn't stop there though, because the best thing about this film, the single greatest aspect of it in my opinion, is the villain. Because the true villain of this film that Peter has to fight is not Dr. Octopus, or this bitch, or his guilt, it's Spider-Man. He is his own biggest enemy in this film. Probably my favourite part of the way this drama is shown is when Peter dumps the Spider-Man outfit and slowly walks away, where despite the fade to black, the eyes stay there for a moment longer, which I like to imagine is a metaphor for the fact that he can never truly escape who he is, and his identity of Spider-Man will still be there, watching him forever. Anyone that says this is just another superhero film is absolutely wrong. This is not a superhero film. This is a character film that has a superhero in it, and it is an absolute masterpiece of the themes of self-identity, sacrifice, existentialism, and the golden Spider-Man theme, responsibility. Every single scene in this film is furthering this idea and exploration of the themes. I mean it, literally all of them. From start to finish, this film is thought-provoking, deep, and it is the most like a film that a superhero film has ever been, and I don't think any others will ever top it. There's a reason it is so highly acclaimed and believed to be one of the best superhero films of all time, and that is because it is a perfect film that I genuinely cannot complain about. I know I hate MJ in this one, but literally everything else about the film makes me more forgiving of it. And hey, Jameson even manages to get a redemption arc for about 60 seconds.
I think I always knew. All this time. Who you really were.
Ugh. You know, it's not fair of me to hold it against this film because for one thing it does make sense here, and for another thing it was 2004, but nowadays whenever someone says this in something I just groan and roll my eyes. It's just one of those cliches that I just hate so much. Insert dramatic life-changing reveal about myself that will impact everything and change our lives for years and years to come. Yeah, this doesn't change anything, dude. I knew this the entire time, you fucking sandwich. Like I said, this film is an exception because, you know, here it does actually work and make sense. It's just, in general, I don't like when this happens. But just think, all of those things that I've just mentioned, all the character depth of Peter's identity crisis, the exploration of Peter and Harry's friendship, the dynamic between him and Octavius, Dr. Octopus's character journey that gets wrapped up so satisfyingly, MJ and her engagement subplot, Jonah's 60-second long redemption arc, and it manages to do all of this in 2 hours and 7 minutes. That is an incredible accomplishment, and everyone who had a part to play in the production of this film should be extremely proud of themselves. And I haven't even spoken about the iconic train sequence yet, because honestly, what can I say about it that hasn't been said already? Guys, I think I've fanboyed over this film long enough. I'm putting it straight in goat, no argument. This is the greatest Spider-Man film, no, the greatest superhero film ever made. I don't care what any of the Spider-Verse simps say, this is not up for discussion, it's going to the top where it's going to stay, end of conversation. Spider-Man 3. You know, I remember the days when this film was commonly believed to be like the worst Spider-Man film ever, and one of the worst superhero films of all time, and was just generally receiving hate on unprecedented levels. Since then though, the Spider-Man fanbase has received some brain cells, for the most part, and now this film's strengths are actually being acknowledged, which is nice to see. I personally have never held this film in high levels of disregard, not even the Venom storyline, which is the main thing that everyone seems to have such a problem with. While I actually do quite like a lot of the Venom stuff, I will say I don't care much for the way it finds Peter, given that it is just pure coincidence. Like, this could literally have happened to anyone. Peter wants to get married to MJ. For some reason. Honestly, Peter, I wouldn't bother, mate. What if she abandons you at the altar as well? Our first fight scene between Peter and Harry is very creative. Lots of nice action there. No idea how the fuck nobody saw any of this though. Honestly, Peter's identity should be well out into the open by now, No Way Home style. I'm not even joking. This is ridiculous. I guess this is just one of those things that we're not allowed to question though, isn't it? Anyway, so Harry gets amnesia, which I can't lie, as convenient as it is, I do think it's an interesting and smart way to keep Harry out of the action for a little bit, just so we can focus on everything else. I don't think it's particularly contrived, just a tad convenient, but I can suspend my disbelief far enough for that. We get introduced to Sandman, who is probably my favourite villain of this film. I don't really know why, I just like him. It'd be nice to see more of him. The scene in which he forms properly for the first time is absolutely beautiful. The score for this film is just perfection. This might even be my favourite soundtrack to any Spider-Man film, to be honest. And this isn't even done by Danny Elfman. I didn't bring it up in the previous two sections of this video, but my gosh, J.K. Simmons is amazing as Jameson, and he is so entertaining to watch on screen. Anyway, so Peter cheats on his girlfriend and... wait, I'm sorry, what? Listen, if I were to put money on either one of these two cheating on the other, Peter, I would not have put money on it being you. We get my favourite Bruce Campbell cameo of the trilogy here. I love this scene, it's top tier comedy. I swear the entertainment value of this film is priceless. Blimey, I love this film so far. I really hope nothing happens that could possibly ruin the experience of... oh no. Right, yes, I'm afraid we do need to address this now. This crap plot twist in which it turns out that Dennis actually didn't kill Peter's uncle, and it was actually Sandman who did it, which just... this just completely ruins the origin story for me. Peter essentially bears no responsibility whatsoever for what happened to his uncle now, because for all we know, even if Peter had stopped Dennis from escaping, this would have just happened anyway. The idea that Peter held responsibility for the death of his own uncle, in turn motivating him to become Spider-Man, was such a fascinating concept to explore with this character. But we have none of that depth now, and with that lack of depth and responsibility, about 50% of Peter's motivation for being Spider-Man is just completely thrown out the window and doesn't matter, which isn't a good sign, and everything about this reveal just falls flat on its face for me. I feel like this was just done so that Sandman could have some sort of emotional connection to Peter, but there are a million different ways you could do this, but better. Why not just say that Ben used to be friends with Sandman? Or they were at the same school together, or something. Anyway, speaking of Sandman, I love this fight scene in the subway. I'm going to address this now, actually. The main reason I don't take issue with Venom being in this film is because actually, I think it enhances the story more than anything else, to be honest. Seeing Spider-Man do much more damage to Sandman whilst in the black suit as opposed to the red and blue suit does give you a good sight into the strengths and weaknesses of Sandman as a character. So yeah, I really do like it. So Eddie gets fired for being naughty and we get to another thing that people used to hate about this film. I personally just think that it's hilarious, and yeah, I'm all for it. Oh, the level of memes this created. Still hasn't beaten Spider-Man 2's level of memes, but we'll see if we can get there. So Peter the woman beater goes into the church to remove the black suit, and Eddie, who is all the way at the bottom of the church, can recognise that it's him. Ready? Eddie can tell that this is him, but no one was able to make out Peter's face earlier while all this was going on. Sure, yeah, okay, alright, yeah, sure. The final battle scene is absolutely incredible. Watching Peter and Harry team up and combine their strengths and abilities to take on Venom and Sandman is always thrilling and satisfying to watch. And Harry's death scene, man, this is a really strong emotional moment. I love how it mirrors the death of his father in the first film. It's incredible. The music in this scene is just phenomenal. Why the fuck is there no official soundtrack of the score for this film? So, this film definitely used to be one of the most underrated superhero films of all time. However, I will say, I don't think I can realistically call it underrated now, since it does get the attention that it deserves and people are starting to come around to it, which I do appreciate. Because honestly, despite Spider-Man 2 being my favourite Spider-Man film, I will say that I think Spider-Man 3 is a more entertaining experience, and the most entertaining Spider-Man film that there is. Now listen, I want to put this film in GOAT. Trust me, I do. But that stupid reveal about Uncle Ben's killer is seriously preventing me from being able to. Because this film is amazing. But it is also being held back. And if it wasn't for that, then I would put it in GOAT. But as is, the highest I can put it in is fantastic. And with that, we come to the end of the Sam Raimi trilogy. The Amazing Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 4 has been cancelled and instead they are rebooting the franchise. Hey, look at that, it's the dictionary definition of depression. So to ensure that Sony retain the rights to Spider-Man, they have to come up with a new film and create The Amazing Spider-Man. Wait, so let me get this straight. Making Spider-Man 4 is difficult, so it's easier to scrap everything you've already got, reboot the franchise from the ground up, get a new director, new Spider-Man actor, new love interest, new everything, and just make the franchise again from scratch. That's easier than just doing Spider-Man 4. Okay, sure. In this film, one of the first things that we see Peter doing is stalking his love interest. Off to a great start. We get introduced to the new Flash Thompson, who I actually really like. He's definitely my favourite Flash Thompson. The fact that he gets a full-on redemption arc and is really good friends with Peter at the end, I love it. It's brilliant, he's great. Fortunately for Peter, this corridor is just completely empty for a good couple of minutes and no one shows up, just so that he can have an uninterrupted scene with Gwen. It's the middle of the school day, okay? This corridor being this quiet and inactive is probably the least realistic thing in this whole film. I have to congratulate the depiction of drama in this film. The argument scene between Peter, his aunt, and his uncle is brilliantly written and acted. It just feels so realistic.
He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
What a cack-handed way of saying this. Why could you not just say,
With great power comes great responsibility.
what is all this beating around the bush, implication bollocks?
Hey kids, little help?
Not my policy.
It feels here like they're trying to replicate the sassiness of the Raimi film, but it doesn't really work. In that film, the guy's being a complete dickhead to Peter, so when he uses his own words against him, it feels satisfying that this guy is getting what he deserves. Whereas the shop owner here didn't really do anything wrong. Peter couldn't afford the milk, so he didn't give him the milk. He's literally just doing his job. I will say I'm very impressed with the darker tone that this film goes for. It works very well and I appreciate it. I genuinely do think it is a great part of the film, even if it doesn't carry over into the sequel for whatever reason. What was the point in this scene? Either include the wrestling part of the origin into the film, or don't. Why are we trying to go for the middle ground here? This is Peter's first suit of the film, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a fucking disgrace. I'm really glad it's only on screen for a couple of minutes. And speaking of disgraces, my gosh, if there's one thing I hate with a passion about any piece of Spider-Man media, it's the fucking web shooters. Now, before you all start yelling at me in the comments, yes, I'm aware that's exactly how it was in the original comics. I don't care. It's still stupid. There are so many things wrong with this. I'll start with the obvious. Why does he even need these? Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Does whatever a spider can. Here's a question. Can spiders, or can spiders not, shoot webs? What's that? They can? Well, why the fuck can't Spider-Man do it without building this rubbish? Hey, you know how the point of Peter Parker is that he's supposed to be relatable and that anyone can be Spider-Man and you don't have to be special for it? Well, apparently you have to be intelligent enough to cobble together this bullshit. So there goes all of that meaning of the character completely out the window. Also, here's another problem, in case there weren't enough already, but if Peter can put together stuff like this, why can't he invent all sorts of useful gadgets and gizmos that he can sell and make money from? Why do they have to have financial issues at all? See, this doesn't make sense no matter which way you look at it. And I know I'm ragging on it in this film specifically, but it's not just this film. It pisses me off when this happens in any Spider-Man media. I just want to be clear about that. And I get it, it's to show off Peter's intelligence as a character, but look at it this way. He's already clever enough to make the suit by himself, which doesn't exactly look easy to do, so isn't that enough? You know, I've got to say I love this scene, it's goated. I can't lie, I actually really like this suit. I do, I think it's underrated. It looks sort of basketball-y and yeah, you can imagine that a teenager would come up with a design like this. We then get a scene that I really don't like but came so close to liking. So Peter's on this mission to find his uncle's killer, and we get a scene with this car thief that goes on for a good couple of minutes where it seems a lot like this is going to be the guy. Peter webs him up, checks for his tattoo, and it's not even him. So what was even the point of this entire scene? It's just a complete waste of time because nothing actually comes of it. So we just end up with this scene of Peter interrogating this random guy who didn't kill his uncle. What would have been like so much better is if it had turned out that this was the guy who killed him and Peter's about to kill him in revenge, but then the police show up and he has to leave. That would have tied up this part of the plot nicely and worked well with the darker tone of the film. But no. And then after that, Peter just gives up on trying to find him and it's like never brought up again. He just completely forgets about it. I'm in two minds about the relationship between Peter and Gwen in this film. On the one hand, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone have got amazing romantic chemistry with each other. On the other hand, however, their relationship develops at the speed of light, and it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Let's go through this timeline, shall we? They talk together in class, and it's implied that they know each other, but aren't really friends, and they don't hang out or anything like that. Then she gets mad at him for wandering off the internship. Then he awkwardly asks her if she wants to hang out with him in the corridor. Then she hugs him when his uncle dies, and then out of nowhere, she says this.
Do you like branzino? Like a fish?
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
Well, if you want, you can come to this address at 8 o'clock tonight. My mom's making branzino.
She does not know this boy, not particularly well anyway. They've had a couple of vague interactions together and now she's inviting him round for dinner with her entire family. What? Okay, this section's gone on for a while now, so I'll try and hurry this up a bit. This dynamic is very well written and engaging and it's paid off brilliantly in the end. This is a great way for him to tell Gwen that he's Spider-Man, but again, much like the rest of their relationship, it happens too quickly. Gwen's mum comes out onto the rooftop because her dad wants her inside, but then seemingly straight away he's running out of the building. How did he get out so quickly? I thought he was supposed to be 20 stories up. This bridge scene is probably my favourite in the film. I love it. I feel like this is Andrew's definitive Spider-Man moment and it's amazing. What is it about bridge scenes in Spider-Man films that always end up being brilliant?
Several eyewitnesses to the crime, as well as our own preliminary findings, have positively placed one individual at the scene.
However, there were no eyewitnesses for the massive lizard that was roaming about the place, destroying cars.
Not dressing up and not a dinosaur, he has transformed himself into a giant lizard.
There's another brilliant fight scene in the school which I absolutely love, and Gwen proves herself to be a much more likeable love interest than MJ, given that she doesn't just stand around waiting to be saved all the time, and she actually contributes to the plot and helps Peter save the day. Very nice. I love this Stan Lee cameo, it's hilarious, and I think it's a really nice touch that Jack's dad from earlier is a crane operator and arranges this as a thank you for Spider-Man. It's a really nice story and character moment, I love it. And despite only having 2 minutes until the serum goes off, Gwen's dad manages to get all the way to the top of this building from the ground, and there's still nearly a minute left when he gets there. How does this guy move so fast? He can seemingly just spawn wherever he needs to be in any given moment. I'm sorry, I didn't realise I was watching the fucking Flash. Anyway, his death scene is beautifully done, and I appreciate that he makes Peter promise to leave Gwen out of his superhero life. It's very interesting to see this brought up. Although I will say, Peter, you could have at least gone to the funeral, okay? I'm sure that would have been safe enough. This kind of messed up Peter, not gonna lie.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Mr. Parker.
Yeah, but those are the best kind.
What? What the fuck does that even mean? What? Okay, so this may sound surprising considering all the flack I've given this film, but I can't lie, I do actually like it. A lot. I genuinely think it is very, very underrated. Yeah, there are some dumb creative decisions being made that I will most likely never understand, but every time I watch this film, I always surprise myself with how much I enjoy it. It has some absolutely brilliant scenes and creative sequences, both action and character focused. The score is very good. Andrew Garfield does do a really good job, I can't lie. Despite popular opinion, I actually think he's better as Peter Parker than he is as Spider-Man. I don't know why, I think it's just down to the smart and scientific teen aspect of his character. I feel like he just has it down to a T. Emma Stone is great in this film as well. Gwen Stacy is my favourite of the three main love interests of these trilogies.
Also, TASM Gwen Stacy is much better than Spider-Verse Gwen Stacy, don't at me.
Overall, this film is always a blast, and I think the positives do indeed outweigh the negatives, and I do like this more every time I watch it. It's not as good as Spider-Man 3, but surprisingly enough, I am still going to put this in fantastic. Here we go. The Amazing Spider-Man... Wait, where's the title card? What? What do you mean it's at the end of the film? Oh, so now not only do we no longer get that creative genius of the Raimi intros, but now we don't even get any intro at all. You know, at least TASM 1 had something. It wasn't much, but it was something. Yeah, we're not off to a great start. Our first scene with Spider-Man is very entertaining to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, tonally it's completely off because the first film was so much more edgy and gritty and had a darker tone to it, whereas this film seems to be going for more bright colours and vibes. But at least it's entertaining, I guess. Unfortunately though, despite being entertaining, this scene also has some blatant character assassination right at the start. See, Spider-Man goes to save Max, right? Okay, fine. But in the process of doing so, he willingly and knowingly lets all these cars crash, flip over, and get destroyed. Yeah, so Spider-Man is just actively responsible for the deaths of all of these people. But hey, at least he saved Max, right?
Oh, well, that's all right then.
Allow me to ask you a question. What part of what I just described to you sounds even remotely in character for Spider-Man to you? With great power comes willingly letting a bunch of innocents die with absolutely no hesitation or remorse and treating it like it's no big deal. What a terrible thing to write into the script just to make the scene look cool. Talk about style over substance. I love this film. It's so well written.
I thought that it meant you loved me.
I do love you. I love you.
Peter, Gwen is stood over there, but why are you confessing your love to this random wall? Well, I mean, you're into what you're into, I guess. Who am I to judge? In all seriousness though, I think the biggest problem with this film is that its main motivation isn't to tell a good Spider-Man story. Its main motivation is to set up lots of other Spider-Man stories. And there's nothing wrong with lots of setup, but when it comes at the cost of having a good story, that's when problems arise. Like, this film doesn't have a story because it's too busy trying to set up everything else in order to focus on telling one. Like, the film tries to show that Peter is feeling guilt for continuing to date Gwen after the events of the first film. Okay, fine. The villain for this film is Electro. Also fine. It also tells the story that Peter still wants to be with Gwen, but she's moving to England. Okay, so we have the character story and the villain story. That's all good, right? Well, no, because now we have a Harry Osborn story. For some reason. And it turns out that he's dying. And now we have a subplot where he needs Peter's blood to heal himself. And now we have the storyline where he becomes the Green Goblin. And with that we get set up for the Sinister Six. And then on top of all of that, we have the storyline about Peter finding out the truth about his parents and everything that they were up to. And it's just too much. Right off the bat, Harry didn't even need to be in this film. Now, in all fairness, I will say that upon my last rewatch I did for this video, Dane DeHaan did a much better job than I remember him doing. But there's just no room for the character in this film, or at least not for them to do the whole Green Goblin storyline anyway. The whole point of Harry becoming the Green Goblin and fighting Peter is that because of the built-up friendship between the two, it feels impactful when they fight each other, because you don't like seeing them against one another. But it doesn't work here, because we have no connection to seeing these two versions of the characters being friends together. We have no sense of the history between them. So how does the film compensate for all this? Well, it shoehorns in a couple of scenes of the two bonding, of course. Great, because this film doesn't have enough to focus on already. Let's give it even more things to include. I think this film just proves that introducing Harry, showing the bond between him and Peter, having him gradually fall out with him, and eventually become a villain and fighting can't all be done within one film. Not unless it's the main focus anyway. It just feels like such a forced way to try and get you to care, but it simply doesn't work for me. I think if you really wanted Harry in this film, the best thing they could have done would be to introduce him here, keep in the scenes of him bonding with Peter, and then at the end of the film put in a post-credits scene where he finds out that he's going to die. Because you've made him likeable and got the audience interested in his character, this makes the audience care more and are more likely to be invested in the next film. In that one you can have this whole storyline about him needing Peter's blood, and that way you can explore it in more detail. And that's another thing. Everything that this film sets up was intended to pave the way for future sequels and spin-offs, but they all got cancelled anyway. So not only is this film bad, but it wasn't even worth it in the end, because nothing actually came from it. So it's pointless, and due to having so many things to focus on, this means that every single second of screen time has to further the plot in some shape or form. So how does the film achieve this? Well, it has Peter and Gwen break up, which I actually do like, as it's a good way to take Gwen out of the story so we can focus on other things. A smart storytelling technique that allows us to shift the focus from her in a natural way, and it makes sense to write her out here so we can explore all the other concepts. And oh, nope, she's still in it. I guess this was just done so we can focus on Peter and Gwen being unsure and still liking each other and not knowing whether or not to get back together again. Because we definitely have time for this, don't we? It's not like we have 50 other characters and story beats to focus on at the minute, is it?
Have you been following me? How often?
Just once a day, sometimes more.
I mean, Peter, what is wrong with you? Why are you always stalking this poor girl? Seriously, just stop it! So Peter's web shooters get fried by Electro and are completely useless. And Harry asks Peter for some of Spider-Man's blood, and Peter just instantly assumes it would make things worse, so he doesn't give it to him. Really? You're not even going to consider that it might help? It's not like he knows for certain that it's going to make it worse, and he doesn't even try to find out, or see if there is a safe way of doing it, or if there's another cure. He basically just doesn't care. To be honest, he might as well have said,
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Honestly, Peter, why are you letting everyone die in this film?
I have to be. I'm at my last interview for Oxford right now.
Oxford? I didn't know.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean you didn't know? Just look around you. What did you think all this was? Okay, so now I have to reiterate a point from my TASM 1 review here. But you know how the point of Spider-Man is that Peter Parker is a relatable character and that he's not particularly special or important and that anyone can be Spider-Man? You know, like what Into the Spider-Verse alludes to? Yeah, well, TASM 2 basically just completely destroys all of that because it turns out that Peter's dad engineered the spiders so that they only work with his bloodline, so this only could have happened to Peter, so not anyone could be Spider-Man, and it turns out you do have to be special after all. This just completely ruins everything. The reason Spider-Man is such a good character is because at heart he isn't special, he's just normal. But in this film, none of that meaningful character depth actually matters, and it kind of all just goes down the drain. Seriously, how do you even miss the point of the character as badly as that? This film is so bad, oh my gosh. Seriously, you heard that? No, I don't even know why I'm surprised at this point. So we get the crappiest Green Goblin design ever. Seriously, this thing looks absolutely awful. And then we get a scene that is genuinely amazing. Honestly, this entire sequence, from the intensity and the action to the music, the creativity, the choreography, and Gwen dying here, man, this is such a well done scene, and Andrew Garfield nails it here. This is actually brilliant. Then Peter listens to Gwen's speech, which for some reason isn't even the same speech as the one she made earlier. Don't know why it suddenly just changed into a completely different speech, but it's not even the first time it's happened in this film.
A world without power. A world without mercy. A world without Spider-Man. A world without power. A world without Spider-Man.
They couldn't even copy and paste the audio tracks properly. For goodness sake. So then we get a really crap Rhino design. What is it with this film and its terribly designed villains? It's practically a running theme at this point. Apart from Electro, he genuinely looks cool. And Peter goes back to being Spider-Man, and it's meant to feel all heroic and amazing, but it doesn't, because he was only Peter Parker again for 8 minutes of screen time. I don't care whether or not they say it's been 6 months, from an audience perspective it has no impact whatsoever because it wasn't properly explored as a concept and it means nothing. Unlike in Spider-Man 2 where he stops being Spider-Man for 29 minutes of the runtime. Cool, let's add Peter quits being Spider-Man onto the list of everything else that this film tries to fit in. Seriously, it's like Sony knew the third film was going to get cancelled, so they just decided to put everything that was planned for that film into this one, which would explain a lot, because there's essentially 2 films going on in one here. And with that, this nightmare of a film is finally over. Yep, as if there was any question as to where this film was going, it's going straight into terrible, awfully written story, terrible villain designs, Spider-Man being painfully out of character, missing the point of him entirely and completely ruining his origin story, and tonal inconsistencies to the last film. Only things I really like about this film are the cast who are all doing a good job, the visuals, some of the action scenes and the soundtrack. That's it. This is the worst Spider-Man film ever, and it is an absolute disgrace. Alright, Spider-Man Homecoming. Interestingly enough, this was actually the first Spider-Man film that I saw in the cinema. I know, so maybe I have some bias towards this one. I don't know, I'll try to remain unbiased throughout this review though. I wonder how difficult that will be. Well, the film starts off with these people somehow completely forgetting about this one truck, which is some pretty big plot contrivance, just so the film can actually exist, so... Okay, clearly this will be easier than I thought. However, one bit of praise that I do have to give this film is this modern edition of the classic Spider-Man theme. I absolutely love it. I genuinely think it sounds brilliant. Fortunately, Peter gets to keep his Tony Stark suit, which I appreciate because oh my gosh, his homemade suit is bad. Like, I actually hate it so much. It looks so pathetic. I also appreciate how we just skip over the origin story because, honestly, I can understand the Amazing Spider-Man feeling the need to do it again, but let's face it, we really didn't need it a third time. So I'm glad it's not in this film. I have to say, for an MCU film of its time, the comedy here is surprisingly quite good. I genuinely find most of the jokes in this quite funny. Ned himself is a great bit of comic relief and I'm genuinely impressed. On top of this, the film has quite a few different tones, but it seems to switch from one to the other pretty well, I've got to say.
Oh, how's school?
It's boring. Got better things to do.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm not too keen on this line. I don't know, I just feel like it's a contradiction to his character. Like, the whole point is that he's nerdy and scientific and cares more about his studies than other students. Like, this just doesn't feel like something that Peter Parker would say, if you know what I mean. I've got to say though, this montage here does a great job at establishing his character, yes, especially with this song that they play over it. Oh, I'm sorry guys, I'm old, I'm an old man, okay? So Peter sneaks back into his room. Fortunately for Peter though, his spider sense can warn him of things that could potentially cause problems for him. So he quickly sneaks back out again before Ned can see him, and oh... What? No, he doesn't. He's there. What? But where was his... This is genuinely something that pisses me off about this film. It's Peter's lack of one of his most important powers and they just completely forget to put it in the film. This is why I say that Tom's spider sense is the weakest of the three. Granted, none of theirs is ever perfect, but in this film, Tom's takes it to an absolutely insane level. I just find it so stupid. Whilst the scene of him using his spider sense in No Way Home is great, we'll get to that, it doesn't make up for the lack of it in this film, and it always annoys me whenever I watch it. Speaking of things I'm not keen on in this film, Aunt May is just so cringe in this one. Like, she's alright in the other two films, from what I remember anyway, but in this one, I just find her really cringe. Anyway, Ned constantly bombarding Peter with questions feels really realistic and like the most natural reaction you could give, to be honest. If this happened to me, I would have 101 questions as well. Now this Flash Thompson, right, I'm sorry, I just do not find him remotely threatening whatsoever. With the other two, you get a sense that, obviously prior to Peter getting his powers, he would absolutely demolish Peter in a fight. Yet with this one, I know he's already got his powers at the start of the film, but I feel like even without them, he could beat this Flash up no problem. He just doesn't seem intimidating at all. Honestly, he comes across more like the school nuisance rather than the school bully. And it's at this point in the film that we get some more of that lovely plot convenience. Oh yeah, can't fucking wait. See, obviously you have to allow for some convenience on the character's behalf, I get it, but in this film, it's taken way too far for me. Peter getting to go to DC after quitting, I just don't buy that he'd be allowed back that easily. And don't even get me started on Peter and Ned hacking into an Iron Man suit.
Peter, you don't need to study. You're like the smartest guy I've ever met. And besides, a rebellious group activity the day before competition is good for morale.
Alright, I feel like I should discuss the romance in this film. I'm sorry guys, but I just don't buy it. I think Liz just fundamentally does not get enough screen time in order to have a built-up connection with Peter. And even when they are on screen together, I just don't buy the chemistry. Like, I don't see it. It's just not there. The following sequence, though, is brilliant. The tension as the bomb's about to go off, Spider-Man scaling the monument, some truly standout music from Michael Giacchino. This is what I'm talking about. The same can be said about the ferry scene. This is also an extremely well put together action scene. However, good as these sequences are, I think we can all agree that the highlight of the film is when the Vulture is revealed to be Liz's father, and he slowly puts together that Peter has to be Spider-Man himself. This is intense, dramatic, absolutely brilliantly built up, and oh my gosh, Michael Keaton's performance here is insane. He is fantastic. So they go to the dance, but Peter runs away because he hates the music that they're playing. I had to. I'm sorry.
Just a typical homecoming on the outside of an invisible jet, finding my girlfriend's dad.
Yeah, I can't I find this line quite cringe. I just do. I would also like to point out that this film came out 8 years ago. Fuck me, I'm getting old. And this mid-credit scene has gone absolutely nowhere in all that time. I know they touched on it in Morbius, but we'll get to that. So, overall, I like this film, but it doesn't really stand out to me among other Spider-Man films. Tom Holland is great in this. He's my second favourite out of these three. Liz being his love interest is serviceable, I guess. I don't know, like, the actress playing her is fine. I just feel like the character herself isn't as well developed as some of the other love interests. MJ's in this film as well, but she's not in it much, so I'll just save all that for when we get to Far From Home. Michael Keaton is absolutely incredible in this film. He is definitely a standout actor, I'd say. And overall, this film does have some very good and creative sequences in it, but I think as a Spider-Man film, it just doesn't have as much pizzazz as some of the others do. I'm going to put it in good because I do enjoy watching it, and I do have a good time with it. I just don't think it's like great or anything. It's just good. Venom. Okay, now I know these films aren't exactly popular with the fan base, but I quite like them, and this first one is no exception. I think the horror-like tone that this film goes for is very well established right from the off with this opening scene. However, I can't lie, it does feel like quite a rushed scene. I can't quite put my finger on why, but it just feels like they wanted to get this part of the story out of the way quickly. I mean, in only 4.5 minutes, we hear the astronauts reacting to the symbiote getting inside the shuttle, see it crashing to Earth, see it getting taken out, and see the symbiote merging with the Doctor, and that is just way too much to cram into less than 5 minutes in my opinion. So we cut to Eddie and Dan, and I have to say, I do find their relationship very fun to watch, even if there isn't all that much of it. One thing I think most people agree on with regards to this film, even the people that don't particularly like him much, is that Tom Hardy is brilliantly cast here and does a phenomenal job throughout the film. He is just a joy to watch in this role. So the symbiote finds its way to this guy, who is the villain for the film, and is also presumably an allegory for old Musky Boy himself. They left the laptop on all this time? So Eddie gets fired for being naughty and... wait, haven't I already said that in this video? And then he gets dumped by the Greatest Showman's wife. Understandable, to be fair. So Eddie starts phoning around and is struggling to find a job. Honestly, I feel your pain, my friend. Anyway, it turns out that Elon Musk is letting people die, so Dora the Explorer goes to find Eddie and asks him for help.
I'll call you back. Okay, I won't. Thank you, bye.
My name is Doris Skirth. I need your help. I work at the Life Foundation.
You do?
Yes.
Wow, good for you. We're done.
See what I mean when I say Tom Hardy is just entertaining to watch in this film?
He has a key. You know he has a key?
Yeah, how else would he get in?
Seriously? In only 6 months, you're not only with someone new, but you've given them a key to your place. Damn, this girl moves on quick. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but she wasn't just dating Eddie. They were engaged.
You did this, Eddie. Not Carlton Drake, not the network, you.
Not me, not Hermione, you.
So Eddie changes his mind and agrees to help.
Dora, Dora, Dora the Explorer.
And I really like his motivation behind this, how he feels like he's already lost everything that matters to him and feels like he's got nothing left to live for, so he might as well go down fighting. And this scene where he gets the symbiote is so well put together. Once again, that excellent horror tone I was talking about from before comes back, and this is just a great sequence, to be honest. Although I've got to say, it is the dead of night when Eddie goes in here, and then when he comes out again, it's broad daylight. Eddie mate, the fuck have you been doing in there all this time? I think one of my favourite showcases of Tom Hardy's performance in this film is this fight scene where he's trying to control all of his actions, but Venom is actually the one controlling him. I just think he pulls it off brilliantly. The interactions that Eddie and Venom have with one another are the highlights of this film for me, and I think a majority of viewers would agree with this. Although I can't lie, whenever Tom Hardy whispers in this film, he always sounds like he's got a really sore throat.
What happened to we? What happened to we? Now you're dying too. Because I have spent a significant amount of time, alright, with one of these creatures up my ass.
See what I mean? So Riot finds Elon Musk and merges with him to take off in a rocket and bring the rest of the symbiotes to Earth. But here's the thing, old Venom over here doesn't want him to do that because he actually likes Earth now. Now, you know how I said earlier that the opening scene felt a little bit rushed? Well, sadly that's a problem that shows up again here, since Venom just randomly tells Eddie that all of a sudden he wants to save the world. And this kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like, sure, he explains that it's because of his relationship that he's built up with Eddie, but we don't really see much of Venom coming to this decision on his own. All we really get to see of it is this line here.
Your world is not so ugly after all. I'm almost sorry to see it end.
Like, that's it. Apart from that, Venom's change of heart just basically happens off screen, which I think is a shame.
Venom, get in the rocket. No. We won't let you destroy this world. Can't die.
Alright, so that's some of the most cliche lines of dialogue I've ever heard before. So Venom dies, and to be honest, I feel like this would have been more impactful if we'd gotten to spend more time with him, but because the film is as short as it is, we don't get to spend as much time exploring their different characteristics as maybe I would have liked. Like, don't get me wrong, the scenes of the two interacting are still very entertaining and fun to watch, but I feel like from a storytelling point of view, there could be more development for the two characters. It's all good though, because Venom survives. How does he do that? I don't know. This is literally never explained at all. He's just alive now, and that's just it. But he eats the robber from earlier, and then the film ends. So, thoughts. Now, like I said, I know that people generally really don't like this film, but I've always had a soft spot for it. Sure, it might not be as thought-provoking or deep as some of the other Spider-Man films, but for what it is, I find it to be a highly enjoyable film with some nice character work for the most part. So I know this will be quite a hot take, but I personally think that this is an absolutely solid film. Not as good as Homecoming though, so I'm going to put it in good. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm going to be honest guys, when I first saw the trailer for this on TV, I thought it looked like the stupidest Spider-Man film ever. I genuinely thought it looked like some nonsensical kids cartoon, and I wasn't even planning on watching it. It wasn't until my brother mentioned that he had seen it and liked it that I thought, I might as well give it a watch. And well, I was surprisingly very impressed. So let's take a look. The first thing that stands out to me is the animation. This looks absolutely incredible, and I really love that they styled it to look like a comic book. We get introduced to Miles, and his arc throughout this film is brilliant. This film is a big part of why I don't think we need a live action version of Miles in the MCU, because I feel like the way that Spider-Verse tells the story means that it just isn't necessary. Like, I don't think they can tell that story better than the way it's told here. It's so well written, and it feels great watching him trying so hard to get a grip of his powers, but he just isn't ready and can't control them yet. I think it's brilliant character work how he is the one who gets taught by Peter B. Parker, who is hilarious by the way, that he needs to take a leap of faith, only for him to turn around and teach him that same lesson again at the end of the film. Although I can't lie, I do wish Miles had been the one to actually say it, rather than implying it and then have Peter be the one saying it. I think it would have made the scene even better, but maybe that's just me. It's also really nice to see him bond with his Uncle Aaron, although this whole shoulder touch and hey thing is just so cringe. I hate it. But the plot twist when he turns out to be the Prowler, this is absolutely brilliant. I love whenever Spider-Man films pull off this type of twist, and it works wonders here. I think you can use a twist like this to judge how well the characters are written, because if the character and dynamic between these two wasn't as good as it is, this wouldn't have a fraction of the impact that it does.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I wanna hear it.
The comedy in this film is absolutely stellar. Almost every joke is hilarious. So we get introduced to Peter B. Parker, and I really appreciate that his character is more depressed and down on his luck, and how he just wants to keep to himself, and how that contrasts with Miles' need to be taught and coached by another Spider-Man because he has no idea what he's doing. I guess I should talk about the rest of the villains in this film. For me, the standout one is the main one, Kingpin. I find his motivation really fascinating, to be honest. I love the idea that he's trying to find an alternate version of his family to try again, and it actually makes him very understandable. It's also surprisingly deep for what at first glance would appear to be the childish cartoon. And honestly, it's really smart storytelling how his plan fails because every multiverse variant ends up seeing him do the same thing again. It's not only clever writing, but is actually very sad. The other villains in this film are fine, but I'm not as bothered about them, such as Tombstone and Octavius. As for Spider-Gwen, I like her in this film. She's a pretty good character, but for me, she only becomes a great character when we get to Across the Spider-Verse. There are also a lot of details in this film that I like, such as how all their spider senses alert them when another Spider-Man is close by, and the idea that if they don't get back to their own reality soon enough, they'll die. This is a really smart storytelling tool that boosts the tension, because now they have a time limit and are on the clock. I also have to congratulate the action in this film. It's so fast-paced and chaotic. I love it. Another standout scene to me is how the other spider people all comfort Miles after he experiences his first proper loss, because they have all been through the exact same experience and they knew it was going to happen to him eventually, and now that it has done, they're here for him. The character writing and story in this film is honestly incredible, and it's at this point where we get arguably the most iconic scene of the film, where Miles has his true Spider-Man moment and soars through the city, especially with this song that plays.
Oh my gosh, Marty, you have made that joke twice now. You are not making it again.
Some people take the fun out of everything. Speaking of jokes, this bit with the bread I absolutely love. Why is the comedy in this film so good? The final fight scene is yet another chaotic thrill to watch. It's just so satisfying to see, with all the colours and the animation and the fighting style. It's honestly brilliant. And Miles telling his dad that he loves him as Spider-Man, and his reaction just absolutely kills me every time. We get another one of those one last time scenes, and then the film ends. So, overall thoughts. The animation for this is absolutely stunning, and the character work is exceptional. Everyone has a definitive arc that is brilliantly explored, and there's an incredible sense of teamwork, and the comedy is of course priceless. However, as good as this film is, and it is very good, I don't consider it to be the greatest piece of fiction ever created, or the best film of all time, or anything like that. I know a lot of people do, and for a lot of people this is their favourite Spider-Man film, but for me personally, it's one of the best, but I don't think it is quite the best. Now don't get me wrong, it is a really brilliant film, and with regards to the animation, it probably is the best animation has ever looked in a film before. But I, for one, have never agreed with people when they say that it's the most perfect film in the history of creation and needs to be awarded with every single award in existence. Like, it is very, very good, but I do feel like people can get a little bit carried away when describing it. And if this is your favourite Spider-Man film, then, you know, good for you. I'm happy for you that you feel that way. But even though I do love it and consider it to be a near perfect Spider-Man film, I do still prefer the first two films in the Raimi trilogy, so I am going to put it in GOAT next to Spider-Man 1. And that does it for this video. Part 1 is officially complete, so I'll be getting to work soon on Part 2. Thank you all very much for watching this video, which is by far the longest video I have ever made, and listening to me talk incessantly about Spider-Man films. I don't know for certain how long Part 2 is going to take me to do. It could take a lot less time, it could take a lot more. You won't want to miss it though, so please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for that. And if you enjoy this video, then please give it a like, as it has taken me a long time and I've put a lot of effort into making this video. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.